What is up, everybody? It's Rebecca Johnson of Supergirl Radio. We're going to get started here live in a little bit. I see Morgan down there. Are you ready to go? Thumbs up. Great. I want to apologize to everybody because our schedule has been so wonky the last couple of weeks, and it's mostly because of me. And so we haven't been able to be live on Tuesdays. And next week, we won't be able to be live on Tuesday because I have a work thing on Tuesday. So we might have to reschedule again for next week. So normally Tuesday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern, lately been difficult. So my apologies to everyone, including Morgan and the Supergirl Radio listeners and viewers. So my apologies. Morgan, do you have the Google Doc?
I do.
Ready to go. And I'm sure you've read the issue.
Of course.
Okay. Just in case. I mean, you could just wing it if you want to.
I'm like, I liked the part where she was angry.
You would have been able to guess that pretty well, I think, for any of these issues. Before we get started, I see new Rachel is joining us from a new computer that she got last week.
Oh, nice.
Always
Fancy.
nice to get a new computer, real fresh. Nothing on it, probably moving pretty fast, probably has a nice keyboard and a nice screen. So enjoy your new computer. I have a computer that I've had since 2020, and it's already kind of worn down.
That happens really so fast now, I feel like.
Yeah, they don't make them quite like they used to.
They really don't.
Apple actually owed me money because the touchscreen that they promised on the computer that I bought at the time was such a great addition, and it died very quickly.
Oh my God.
Great. So I think they had some kind of lawsuit or something that happened where they had to pay everyone who bought one of those machines.
Amazing.
I didn't get very much money. It was not, it was maybe not even worth it, but they owed me money and sent me some money. So that's great. Thank you.
There was a Ticketmaster like class action like many years ago. And by the time they finally paid it out, I like wasn't going to see as many shows as I used to. But I remember me and my friends all got like the maximum payout because of how many like concerts we went to in our 20s. And I was like, yeah,
worth it.
I was so cool. My $17.
That sounds about what I got for my laptop that I paid lots of money for, and it didn't work. And
feels right.
It's a disaster. Well, I think we should go ahead and get started. We're going to be talking about Supergirl number 40. I'm going to save some news for next week because I didn't get a chance to put it in the doc. So we will tackle all the news that's come out. I think the Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow movie got a cinematographer. So that's exciting. And so we'll talk about, and I think I saw something about Creature Commandos coming out. So we'll talk about some of those things. But for right now, for this live stream, we're just going to be talking about Supergirl number 40 and the infected Supergirl and her turn. Maybe that she's taking in this issue. We will talk about it. So let's go ahead and get started here, and we will be right back.
McGurk! I love typing.
Not mess with my Google Docs, Meeksy.
Supergirl Radio is going live every night of the week. How do you like it? Is becoming a human burrito a plus or a minus? I don't know. It does seem snug.
I mean, they say you are what you eat.
Kira. I love that.
So I do a podcast called Supergirl Radio, and one of our segments is Lena Luthor, Boardroom or Ballroom, because
she looks like a boss in this coat.
Nasty Luthor like a different Luthor? It's not just Lena being mean?
No.
Helen Slater here. So fun to know that you're hosting a podcast called Supergirl Radio.
Yes! Welcome to Supergirl Radio Rebirth, your source for Supergirl comics that started with DC Rebirth. My name is Rebecca Johnson.
I'm Morgan Glennon.
And for this episode of the podcast, we are live and wired to discuss and review Supergirl number 40, which is a story titled I'm the Bad Guy finale. I have a lot of questions on whether or not this is the finale of this
Doesn't
story.
feel like it.
But the title suggests that this is the end of Supergirl being the bad guy. This story was written by Jody Hauser with art by Rachel Stott. Chris Peter was the colorist. Tom Napolitano was the letterer. Joe Bennett and J. David Ramos did the cover. Derek Chu did the variant cover. Brittany Holzer was the editor, and Jamie S. Rich was the group editor. So we're going to be just diving into this issue because we're going to save some news for the next time around on Supergirl Radio. But for this episode of the podcast, we are going to be talking about Supergirl number 40. And the description for this issue reads, quote, Supergirl is out of control. Having fully succumbed to the Batman who laughs deadly infection, she has left her boundaries behind and is flexing her power to the world. Is even Wonder Woman a match for the Kryptonian fully unleashed? The hope is that the true Kara Zor-El is still inside this rampaging monster and that she'll come to her senses. But even if she does, will she ever be the same? The consequences of the dark multiverse infection could change Supergirl forever, and not for the better. Don't miss this do or die conclusion too, and the description has to the infected, unquote. So they did not really proofread these.
No.
It should say don't miss this do or die conclusion to the infected. So that's what it should be. But they were just throwing up descriptions. They didn't really care to proofread or like spell check it in any kind
Veronica.
They really needed Veronica on these descriptions. They did not care all that much. Okay, so Morgan, what did you think about this story? It features the continuation of the Supergirl fighting Wonder Woman, and there's a surprise interruption into that fight, and then there's a trip to the sun. What did you think about all this?
Yeah, this one was I've been trying to give this infected storyline a lot of grace. I suspect that this was like a sort of given to the Supergirl writers, like, hey, all the super people are going to be infected, including Supergirl, and the writer was probably like, ruh-roh? But this one felt a little bit, especially because it says finale, and so I was expecting a sense of closure. Finale to it. A sense of closure, like, that's how they got her uninfected, and instead that's not what happens at all. Twist, I guess. You know what? They were doing a play on my expectations as a
subverting your expectations.
Subverting my expectations as a reader. They're like, as a reader, when we say it's a finale, you expect closure. You expect the storyline to finish. You expect answers. We will give you nothing. And you know what? A bold choice was made. I didn't love it, but there it was.
Yeah, when I read finale in the title, I did expect, my expectations were that Supergirl was going to come out of it. And it sort of seems like she does at one point, because Supergirl is really kind of playing with her, what do they call it? Like a reverse psychology, maybe, where she's like, yeah, Supergirl, I know you want to save people, but they're afraid of you. They're freaking out over what you're doing. They don't really consider you a hero. And she's trying to help infected Supergirl see the reality of this situation, of what she has been doing. And through that, I think Diana realizes that the kryptonite is not helping. It has obviously made things worse somehow. So she tries to get rid of the kryptonite. And then Krypto shows up to stop infected Supergirl, to try to intervene and try to bring Kara back. And it seems like that happens. But at the end of the issue, it seems like the Batman who laughs still has his control over the infected Supergirl. So I too was bummed by this situation, by the ending, by the cliffhanger of this, because it has not. I think my problem, I think we talked about this in the previous episode of Supergirl Radio, is that this storyline seems to be like the same thing every issue. It hasn't progressed in any kind of way that it has moved the story forward. It's just another instance of infected Supergirl terrorizing people or fighting people and kind of maybe having a realization, but then nothing changes.
Then nothing changes. In fact, I feel like she's been in the same geographical spot for like 3 issues now.
Yeah.
Like the lack of forward momentum in the story is really starting to, I think, wear on me as well. I'm just like, okay, it's the same thing over and over again. She hasn't even changed spot. Like she goes up into the sky in this issue. She goes up into the atmosphere and she's like sun, and then she falls right back to where she was. Like we just like literally she ends up where she begins almost, and it's a little bit annoying when that sort of seems to happen in every single issue where, you know, she'll fly off and then she'll fly back and you're like, I guess we're still in Smallville. Is it the same day?
I would think that so if this was me writing the story or editing the story, maybe this is somebody else's story and I'm just giving them notes about it. What I would say is that if you're going to have Supergirl fly to the sun in outer space, and there's like a little emotional moment between infected Supergirl and Crypto, where Crypto licks her face and Doggy kisses her
So beautiful.
as she it was very emotionally stirring, and she flies very determined towards the sun and has like this really nice, there's a panel where she's like silhouetted in front of the sun. It looks like it's going to be a life-changing moment for her, and then as she falls back, it's just like the Batman Who Laughs shows up and seemingly nothing has changed. It seems like if you're going to have her fly to the sun and have this emotionally stirring moment with Crypto, something should have changed within her.
Yeah. I like I was like, wait, Wicked lyrics? Has something changed within you?
That if that is the case,
She was defying gravity.
She was defying gravity. But that if I made a Wicked reference, that was totally unintentional.
I'm choosing to think it was intentional. It's funny because I actually still haven't seen the movie yet.
I haven't either.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for the people who want to do the sing-alongs to stop going to see.
We need to cycle those people in and out before I go in.
So this is off topic, but since we brought up Wicked, I am a very staunch proponent of, if you're going to go see a movie, treat it as a cinematic experience. This is not Broadway. This is not, a sing-along. Now, they could package it as a Wicked screening as a sing-along. That I would be fine with.
They could.
If you're going to show a movie, it should be movie expectations. So that's my
know what I'm going in for.
Yes.
I'm not going in for the sing-along. And if you start singing in my theater, I'll be like, no. Open auditions or later.
So that's a side tangent. I feel very strongly about this.
I agree.
So I'm waiting for the Wicked fans to see it as many times as they want to, and then I'll go see it.
We love the theater kids. We love them. Do not do this. Do not do this in the theater.
I get annoyed when somebody coughs in the movie theater. I don't think I would be able to.
I don't like it when people like have their little cell phones out and they're like on their little cell phones in the movie. I certainly don't want you to be like, like next to me. No.
Well, I'm glad we see eye to eye.
I'm glad we're on the same page.
I felt like I was the only one.
It's a terrible idea. Don't do it. Don't do it, people. They're like, oh, sing along. Do not sing along. I don't care who told you it was okay. I don't remember where I was.
We were talking about Supergirl having gone up into the sun. She was defying gravity.
I think another issue with this arc so far is that she becomes infected Supergirl. She's like, I'm evil now. I've got the kiss makeup on. I'm really scary. And then in like the last issue, she's like, what just happened? I became scarier. And you're like, okay. And then in this issue, she's like, my nails are really long and my spikes are much spikier. And you're like, I mean, you were scary before. I guess you're scarier now. You kind of look like that little girl that climbs out of the TV from the ring.
Yeah.
Like, I don't love it, but okay. I didn't love it before. I love it less now. And then like in this issue, it seems like the thing that was resolved is that she like steps down in the level of evilness. So she goes from like the ring Supergirl, like Samara Supergirl, back to Kiss Supergirl. And I'm like, that didn't resolve anything though. She's still evil. She's just a little less evil than she was before. Like, how is this the finale?
Yeah. So the evil stuff really does not. I was actually hoping for like more evil.
Yes.
Like after the last issue, I thought it was going to be like ramped up to 11 where she was going to be way evil and harder to stop. But towards the middle of this fight with Wonder Woman, Wonder Woman starts to be like, I know what's wrong with you. You're just a sad, lonely little girl and you need to be with other people. You can't save the world alone. She's giving her all of this like psychobabble and like really, really like analyzing her life choices. And so that seems to cut through Supergirl, infected Supergirl in such a way that it lessens the like I thought there would be a much more intense version of evil Supergirl, and there really I don't think there was. And it doesn't stay there very long, and then Crypto pops in, stops her, and it seems like Wonder Woman realizes that because Crypto intervenes and infected Supergirl has a moment with him, that maybe Kara is still in there. But she already knew that because she used the lasso of truth in a previous issue. So
it's like
that
every issue they just learn the same things over and over again, and then like by the next issue they've unlearned it and need to relearn it.
Yeah, it is super frustrating. She does, Wonder Woman does mention the other people who are infected, and infected Supergirl tries to infect Wonder Woman. And one thing that I had mentioned in the previous, I think, episode of Supergirl Radio was that if her spikes are going to be on the costume, they should be there for a purpose. And it seemed like in this issue, they were. It seemed like, let me know, Morgan, if you read this a little differently, but it seemed like the spikes on the costume were like a way to infect someone else with the Batman Who Laughs stuff.
Which was news to me because she's had the spikes the whole time.
Yes.
It's a lot of like this kind of stuff where it's like, wait, what are the rules now? I don't care that they're making up the rules as they go along. I mean, there's a super dog. Like we're all just suspending our disbelief. We're jumping with it. We love Crypto fan club. But if you're going to set up that the spikes infect people, that should be set up like earlier in the narrative. It seems like kind of a big deal. You could maybe even like have her accidentally infect somebody with a spike.
Maybe she hugs somebody evilly.
Could you imagine? First off, yes, amazing. Or even not evilly. She's just like, you're welcome, kind citizen. And the citizen's like, but also how that would have added stakes to her fight with Wonder Woman if Wonder Woman had to constantly be like, I have to watch out for the spikes.
Yes.
I could get infected. Instead, it's like halfway through, it's like after the fight's already over, she's like, boop, and she like pops one off. And I was like, oh, were those dangerous? I thought they were just decorative. I thought she just went to Hot Topic and glued a couple on.
It was just a goth phase she was going through.
It was just a phase. No, Mom, I love punk.
Yeah, and then my problem also with the spikes was that it seemed like did they replace themselves? Did they regenerate? Because in some panels, like after she took the spike off, it looked like in the panels after that all of the spikes were there.
Yeah.
So I didn't see, I mean, we could go back through some of those panels and fact check me on that, but it looked like they had been replaced or something. I don't know. So it wasn't even, in my opinion, consistent in the art of the use of the spike there.
No, yeah, it was driving me a little crazy. I was like, wait, so she can just pop them off and like they're evil. Also, there's not to rag on anybody, but I also noticed some like inconsistencies with her new scary nails where like she would have them in one panel and then suddenly she would like be holding her she held her fists together like this, and I was like, where are her long scary nails? There's not. And then in the next panel they'd be out again.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, what?
Can they, are they retractable like Wolverine?
That would be cool. But also would be something you'd want to set up in the narrative beforehand. It was just, all of that was a little strange. You're right that she like pulls out the spike, presumably, and then like we don't see any spikes. It doesn't look like in the next ones we see any spikes missing, which is just like a little mistake, but like on top of everything else, it just feels like a lot. Like they're just like making us go on a lot of like journeys with them.
And since you brought up the fingernails, I could not figure out what the point was of the long fingernails, because at least with the spike, even if it's inconsistent, even if it doesn't make a ton of sense, they at least utilized the change in Supergirl, or this infected Supergirl's costume. Like, oh, we've introduced spikes to her costume. They're there for a reason. But with the fingernails, I couldn't exactly figure out what the reason was, because it didn't add anything to her fighting ability. I don't think they mess up Wonder Woman in any kind of way. So I couldn't figure out why would you introduce that?
Yes, and if we want to go down a nitpicky rabbit hole,
Yes,
understandably, if you do not,
this is the place for it.
Okay, I went on a fingernail journey.
Yes.
It's not something I like to say, but I did. Which is that like I got so confused while reading it that I like flipped back pages and then flipped forward pages and then flipped back pages.
Okay.
So I come by this honestly. So so she's having sort of a crisis here, and she's like holding her like long cousin It hair, and she's like, ah, and I was like, oh, is this meant to be like she doesn't have the fingernails? Is this meant to be like a sign that
she's changing,
that like the good Supergirl is coming back? Like, is this
Right.
meant to be like a visual cue that Supergirl is changing? And then if you look at say this panel up in the, I'm going to try to see if I can zoom in. Sometimes it doesn't let me.
Yeah.
You can see she doesn't have the fingernails in this panel.
No, it's just her hand.
It's just her hand. Now you would see those long, long nails if she had the nails, but she doesn't. So I was like, okay. I'm supposed to be getting from this that like she's changing, that she's like really taking in what Wonder Woman is saying, that the fingernails are a sign that she is like when she's like bad to the bone, and she's less bad to the bone now. So the fingernails have retracted. I was like, I don't know why this is the case, but I'm going with it. I understand that. I flip to the next page. Okay. I'm confused again because it looks a lot like in this panel, the fingernails are back. The fingernails are fully back in this panel.
See, that panel is a little bit misleading because there's lines going
There's
down.
lines.
So it almost looks.
it
I didn't
could be
notice them in
motion.
that panel because it looks like the lines of motion.
Oh, I zoomed in. I was like,
there's definitely nails there. Yeah.
what's that? Are those motion lines or are those nails? Looks like nails. Interesting, because guess what? She doesn't have them here, which is 2 panels later. You would see them because there is a close up of her hand,
Her palm,
Her
very
palm.
clearly.
towards the, let's say, the viewer, the camera, if you
camera.
will, if it would have been if it was live action. No nails in this. I was like, interesting.
Very clearly no nails.
Now what's happening? Again, in another panel, 2 panels down, when Crypto licks her, you can clearly see she has short nails here. She doesn't have nails at all. And you're like, okay, what happened to the long nails? So I'm like, okay, now I don't really understand what's happening. I can't follow her character journey through nails. I don't understand. Except I then flipped a page. And Rebecca, I flipped a page and everything got crazy. Because here in this top panel, we can see clearly once more that
No
she
nails.
does not have the nails. No nails. Okay. Maybe those nails in that one panel was a fluke. Maybe they did them out of order and they were just like, whatever, they look like lines. We'll just go with it. No one will notice. Except I could accept that. Except in this panel, you can very, very clearly see the nails again. Now you can't right now because my computer is covering them. But if you could, if I could properly zoom, you could see right here is where the nails would be.
She's got the hand up specifically so that you can see the nails coming up.
So that you can see the nails coming up. So what's going on? What is going on? Like when we talk about the
Wait, go to the last panel where she's crawling out of the thing.
In the last panel, she once again does not have, we can see here, no nails. Well, that doesn't mean anything. They could be back in the next panel for all I know. But then in the last panel of the issue, you can see she's got black
Normal
planet
nails.
nails again,
Just
but
like
they are short.
Yeah.
They are not like 5 inches long. So then I'm like, okay. So the nails meant nothing. And in fact, seemingly the artist perhaps forgot where they were supposed to be from panel to panel. And so she sort of half has them, half doesn't have them. I guess this wasn't a character choice that anybody was making on behalf of Supergirl. And so, yeah, like when you said the thing about her pulling the spike out of her suit and then there being no spike left out of her suit. I mean, they couldn't even keep track of whether or not she had like murder nails or not from panel to panel. So, and that was like a long journey I went on with her nails where I was like very, very mad when I realized that they had popped back up. And then they disappeared, and then they popped up, and then they disappeared. I was like, "What's happening?"
We can't track the long fingernails in like fighting. Could we? Like, what if we theorize that maybe she only has the nails when she's fighting?
But see, she's not fighting here when she's up by the sun.
Okay. I just wanted to throw that out there in case
I would
like
like a Wolverine situation, but also when she's flying up towards the sun, she has them. And then also doesn't have them at the same time. They're like Schrodinger's nails.
There's no way to track this in
we don't know
way.
when or if she has them. For instance, in this panel, on these pages where she's like arguing with Wonder Woman, she's kind of having what looks to be like a mental breakdown, a slight mentee B. She's got them at the top, and then she doesn't have them at the bottom. And then thankfully mercifully in one of the panels, her hand is cut off and we don't have to know whether they disappeared or not. But like, yeah, you can see like when she's fighting, I believe she has them like the whole time she's fighting because that makes her scarier.
Big time when Crypto is biting her.
Big time when Crypto is biting her. If anything, they've gotten longer in that panel. But like, yeah, when she's fighting Wonder Woman, she's like fully using her like Wolverine hands. But then after that period of time, they suddenly start disappearing from the narrative. So I don't know. Even I feel like, you know, I can't draw anything. So I don't want this to come off as a critique. I literally, my drawing skills are stick figures.
Yeah.
But
I can barely even do those.
Exactly. But we see during this fight, she's fighting with the nails, fully fighting Wonder Woman. She like tries to throw those infected spikes. Wonder Woman blocks. And then when she has a fist around one of those spikes, the nails are gone again.
Yeah, there's no way you would be able to make a fist like that if you had those very
you
long
would have
nails.
you'd have to do so, or they'd have to show the nails kind
Like
of coming down and hanging down. And I wonder if the artist just struggled with fists with the nails and was like, how crazy would you have to be to like hyper fixate on this? Well, guess what? It's all I could think about.
This may also be like an Eliza Danvers hand situation. But this is the same artist in this issue. I assume that the artist doing the art within the issue is the same person. Like I don't think it changed.
It doesn't.
Changes.
It sounds like the art is by. Oh, well, okay. It says the art by Rachel Stott and Chris Peter. Oh, no, Chris Peter was the colorist. Okay, so the art is by Rachel Stott. So, yeah, it does appear that, like, sometimes you do, you know, you read the creative team and, like, there are multiple artists on a single issue. And so you could say, like, okay, some things got lost in translation between the two artists as they were passing things off back and forth. But this does seem to be like a single artist issue. So little things like that kind of took me out of the story a little bit because I was like, okay, now the spikes on her costume, I guess, can be infected spikes. That's new information that wasn't in any of the previous issues. Now she's got long fingernails. Now she does it. Now she does. Now she doesn't. It's like, you know, if the visual cues aren't like, you know, corresponding with anything, I'm starting to get lost.
Here's what I would do maybe if if it was me, and if I was the editor on this issue, if they wanted to introduce the long fingernails, why doesn't Wonder Woman break the fingernails while they're fighting or something? Maybe the long fingernails are supposed to be there with the transition into the Supergirl who laughs from the previous issue's cliffhanger. Maybe she ends up with the long fingernails because she is transformed because of the kryptonite. But maybe the long fingernails get cut by Wonder Woman's sword or something, or something happens where they they break a nail, and
Yeah.
Supergirl makes a joke about it, about, oh my gosh, my nails broke, you broke my nail. Something like that, where it has a reason to be there. My thought is, if I was looking at this from like an editor standpoint, it would be like, don't introduce long fingernails if you're not going to do anything with them. There has to be a reason that you make that artistic choice. I'm with you. Like, I have no artistic talent in this regard in terms of drawing or coloring or painting, essentially, is what this is kind of akin to. I have no artistic talent in that realm. But I do think if you're going to commit to something, you should have a reason to do it.
I agree. Yeah, I think what you said about the spikes on the costume being infected spikes, like, was a great idea. Should have been introduced much earlier in the
But she's
story.
had those spikes for a while.
She's had those spikes for a while. Or did the spikes just become infected spikes when she got worse? But again, that also needs to, like, what is the functional difference between, like, Kiss Supergirl and Little Girl from the Ring Supergirl? Like, it's
Yeah.
And also, I don't know. I guess I struggle with, like, she's bad. She's infected. She, like, thinks, she thinks she's saving the world, but she's doing bad things. And then, oh, now she's worse. Well, it doesn't have the same emotional stakes. It's like, yeah, she was already infected. I'm not that concerned that she's infected worse. Like, I'm about the same amount of concerned, if I'm being honest. And so, to me, it feels like they should have just kept her at the same level of infection, or they should have had her do something way worse. I was worried for Crypto in this issue, because she's like,
what if she had infected him?
Yeah, she's like, I'm a way worse person now because like, the infection has taken complete control of me because the I thought that actually the kryptonite making it harder for her body to fight off the infection and making the infection worse, like, made a certain weird amount of sense. And I was like, okay, I could buy that.
Go with it.
Sure, why not? Her immune system's compromised.
But wouldn't that have also applied to Crypto as well?
It should. You would think.
Yeah.
But, like, if she had done something to Crypto, and of course, I don't want anything ever to happen to my baby Crypto.
No.
But if she had done something to Crypto, like, tried to infect him, maybe even just like kicked him or something, you'd be like, all right, that's it. She's evil. She's bad to the bone. I cannot believe she did that to Crypto. Okay, now we're fighting. Now we're going to fight.
Now we have beef.
Now we've got beef.
Now you've messed with Crypto.
But arguably, she was the same amount of nice to Crypto. So I was like, what am I supposed to, what am I doing?
It was actually the opposite. When she encountered Crypto, she became more like Supergirl again.
Yeah. She got emotional. She's like,
yeah,
why aren't you on my side? And it's like, wait, I thought she was supposed to be worse. What are we doing here?
Yeah, this storyline has started to really peter out from whatever intent they had with it, just because it's not consistent. I think it could be an interesting exploration of Supergirl and what it means for her to be a hero, but it just seems to be treading water at this point, because it's, for the last 2 issues especially it's been Wonder Woman versus Supergirl with Crypto in the mix, but it just hasn't seemed to change too much. I guess unless you have anything else you wanted to bring up, I wanted to sort of speculate about where this could be going. So do you have anything else before we get there?
No, I am excited to talk to you about this because I have a confession to make, which is that the ending here was such a non-ending that I became curious, and you will remember.
Did you start the next issue?
You will remember that I had the trade.
You do have the trade.
So for the first time in our entire run here
You've read ahead.
that I've had the trade, I went, okay, like what's next? I don't know how much we should talk about it.
You can tease something, I
Okay,
guess.
well, the thing I'm
don't
gonna-
spoil the whole thing.
I don't want to spoil anything, but I do feel like maybe a conversation needs to be had about what we read next, because I'm just going to go ahead and say that there's no resolution at all, which makes me think that the actual resolution is in some other book.
Which sucks. The Supergirl storyline should be at the very least in your trade.
It should be.
Does
It
your
should
trade
be.
end with the next couple of issues?
So there are the next few issues. However, okay, I'm just gonna go ahead and I'm so sorry I'm spoiling this. In the very next issue, Supergirl is normal. I flipped to the next one.
So
And
so
I
there
went-
would have been a change here.
Huh. So I did read a couple pages. I didn't read too many pages, like maybe 2 or 3 pages. The 2 or 3 pages that I read did not in any way explain how she became back to regular Supergirl. And
Well, she had an encounter where she went into the sun. And
She
so
went
that
into the sun.
that just cleared her up.
and then she fell down. She was still bad Supergirl. She was still the infected Supergirl. It seemed like the Batman who laughs was coming after her. And then in the next issue, she's like, la la la, flying through the air. And I was like, what?
And I'm assuming there's no editor's note to tell you what.
You would be correct, because an editor's note at this particular junction would have been very, very helpful.
So
I
helpful.
see Mind the Gap in the chat, who thankfully is giving us some nice backstory about this run. Because
Mind the Gap is giving us editor's notes.
Mind the Gap is our editor's notes for these podcasts. Mind the Gap says there were lots of behind the scenes issues during this time.
I'm
shocking.
shocked to hear that.
Mind the Gap says Dan
Didio.
Didio.
I think it's Dan Didio.
I think you're right. Wanted a new timeline at the end of the Dark Knight's death metal story, and many DC writers refused. On top of that, COVID-19 delayed
Wow,
the production.
did they have like a standoff between
I guess
the head of DC Comics at the time? Wow.
I guess there were some unhappy people. I can't imagine why. This storyline is so fun. So Mind the Gap goes on to be our ultimate editor's note here on what happened between issue 30. Is this issue 40?
This is 40.
So 40 and 41. Mind the Gap says, I believe this story concluded in a miniseries called Hell Arisen.
Okay.
So arguably what happens is you're reading the Supergirl book. She's infected. You're worried about her. You love Supergirl. She's been mildly mean to Crypto, and you don't like that. You can't wait to see how she gets out of this particular scrape. You go to your local comic book store. You've been waiting a while, and you're like, I can't wait to see how she gets out of this. You pick up the next issue. You open the next issue. Guess what? She already got out of it. When, where, why, how? You don't know. But I guess you have to read the miniseries called Hell Arisen to find out.
So it looks like there is something called Year of the Villain, Hell Arisen. I'm not sure if there's a trade that is like a gets all of those issues together, but it may be just 4 issues, maybe.
It looks like, yeah, total issues 4. You can see on the picture I'm seeing on the DC Fandom Wiki that Supergirl, infected Supergirl, is on the cover of at least one of these covers. So it says,
oh
who
yeah,
can
she's
stand-
on Hell Arisen #1. It looks like.
yeah, who can stand against the Batman who laughs? I guess if we're just reading the Supergirl run, we'll never know who can stand against him, because I guess that's backstory that doesn't feel needed. So I guess the question for us is, do we read this?
I think we might as well. I mean, we've already gotten this far. Maybe we just keep going. We're
in
I
deep
feel like
now.
we're in deep. I feel like we may be getting into a rabbit hole where we're gonna start being like, okay, is this the end?
Every
Are we-
editor's note. It's like one of those like choose your own adventures, but
That's
like
exactly
at
what is happening.
the end you just fall down a pit and die. You're just like Hell Arisen. Okay, Hell Arisen goes off to this one, who goes off to that one, and then we finally make it back to Supergirl.
So is the choose your own adventure here? Okay, so I think our choices.
We have two paths in the wood are diverging. Which will we take? One is we continue on with Supergirl Rebirth, knowing that the ultimate conclusion to the infected storyline happens off screen, and we might never really know the details of it. That's one path. The second path is we veer off from Rebirth. And then we have to read 4 issues of Year of the Villain, Hell Arisen, to see. I didn't name it. To see how Supergirl becomes uninfected. Those are the 2 paths.
Do we know if Year of the Villain is after these issues, or is this like the point in which we have to now read Year of the Villain?
I think here is where we have to jump the tracks and go to Year of the Villain, because again, based on me going, that didn't feel very conclusive, and flipping forward a couple page flips, she's not infected anymore in the next issue of Rebirth.
So
She's
I guess
totally not infected. In fact, she makes a little spoiler alert. She makes a little comment, because again, I read like the first couple pages going like, what's happening? And she says her download about this in the next issue is, I was recently infected by a monster from another dimension. And that's pretty much. She goes, but I'm better now, I think.
she says, I think.
Oh no. That's all we got.
I think a question mark. Okay,
I
so
hate it.
this is good to know, I think, for us, so that we can make this choice.
I'm glad I cheated a little bit.
Yeah,
because
I
think
am glad you did.
I think a decision lies before us.
So my thought is, you can feel free to reject it, but
Sure.
while we're here, we might as well just, it's 4 issues. We can just dig it. This is how they get us.
This is how they get you.
Because I was not going to read Year of the Villain, Hell
I
Arisen.
wasn't either. I got to be honest with you. I'm shooting straight. I wasn't interested.
Now they're going to get us for 4 issues.
But it's like, how did she become uninfected? What, I'm just never going to know? I don't even get like a little note from Brittany that's like,
that's where an editor's
now.
note would have been helpful.
She's uninfected now, LOL, Brittany. How come those never? I wonder if it'll be in your issue. It'll be in your issue 41, but it's not in my issue.
Actually,
41.
hang on. Let me look. Hang on. Let me see if I can find it. So this is 41. Let's see if there's anything at the beginning of issue 41.
I only flipped ahead like 3 or 4 pages, and then I was like, okay, at this, if I go any further, I'm just gonna have read the whole issue. So I stopped.
She is definitely just
She's normal.
OG Supergirl.
She's fine.
I don't see any editor's notes in mine in Supergirl number 41. I'm just kind of flipping through.
A bold choice.
What if you were just a casual Supergirl fan?
I feel like
you're
there's
like,
no way
I'm
to
gonna-
be such a thing at this point.
Like if you just bought the trade and you were just like at home just reading your comics,
Yeah.
you would never know. If
Why-
you did not have a Mind the Gap in the chat,
I know.
we would not have known.
I wouldn't have even known where to look for this storyline to finish. There needs to be at least like a page that says this concludes in this story. If they don't want to include the 4 issues in this trade, which why not? Then okay. Tell me. It's not that many. It's only 4. Why not just tell me you can make this trade a little bit more expensive to account for that or whatever.
Yes.
That's fine. I'll pay it to get a complete experience. But instead, you could at least be like, okay, do you want to see how this concludes? Go read this, this title or go get this trade. And I'll be like, are you kidding me? And then I'll do it.
Editor's note here
Editor's note here.
would have been helpful.
Just a little one. Just a little
See,
guy.
year of the villain, hell arisen.
Exactly.
Done.
Not that hard. Not that hard. Mind the Gap did it in the chat. We need to start getting Mind the Gap editor's notes in these things.
Yes, if we did not have Mind the Gap, we would be lost. So thank you
So
for
confused.
that. Okay, so that's my thought. If I'm making the choose your adventure choice here, I'm saying we should veer off into Year of the Villain.
That was also my thought, and I was
Okay.
like, oh no.
Are we gonna get to that and then go to 41? You think?
I
guess
guess
so.
I guess we read the 4 issues of this, and then we go back to 41,
Okay,
which is where she has, spoiler alert, she's cured.
she's fine. So
She's fine. But how? We don't know. And also it annoys me on a personal level to have like this story where like our main character is evil and the stakes are high and who knows what's going to go on, and then just to have the next issue be like, and she's fine. Like, how am I supposed to, as a reader, how am I supposed to like really put my all into reading these stories, knowing that at any point the conclusion of the story that I'm reading could be non-existent or in some other book I have not even been informed of.
you don't even know where to go.
Don't even know where to go.
And this was the finale
The finale.
of that storyline.
What kind of finale was that?
Yeah, that's crazy. Okay, well, at least we know what is happening now. So that is very helpful. So thank you to Mind the Gap and to you, Morgan, for cheating ahead a little bit. I guess before we get in, because since I guess my initial thought was we could speculate on what is going to happen, but we kind of know the direction in which we are going. So I guess before we wrap up, did you have any additional thoughts about the story or any additional thoughts about the art before we wrap it up?
Good question. I think we covered all the story stuff. This one, I've been trying to give this storyline a little bit of grace, but this one is where it started to really lose me. However, I did like the panel where I think it's like Crypto grabs her arm. It's my pages are all crazy. But it's the page where it's like kind of orange in the background, and infected Supergirl is like trying to stab Wonder Woman, and then Crypto comes up and grabs her arm. I just thought, wow, how heroic of a dog is Crypto. And also I like the way that they had that panel so that arm grab by Crypto had like sort of the maximum impact.
Yeah, it was a real close-up shot, and it says "Nar" on it.
It sure does.
That one is, if you're reading the single issues, that's page 13. So Crypto very brave in this one, and he's sort of I thought he had swooped in at some point. Sort of look like, I don't know if the next panel after that, who is swooping in that, I guess that's Supergirl swooping around in that panel. But yeah, some of the Crypto stuff I thought was really good in here. There was also another page, I think it was during the fight for me it's page 11. There's a whole lot of action. It's just a page of different elements of the action, showing the different poses, Supergirl grabbing Wonder Woman's head from behind and seemingly throwing something back. I think she throws Wonder Woman maybe over her head, and she's slamming Wonder Woman on top of the head. So a lot of action in this one page that seems like it was happening one thing after the other in very quick succession. So that I thought was really cool in the way that it visually depicted what it would be like if Supergirl fought Wonder Woman, where they both have some super speed and superpowers, and they would be very difficult to fight each other. And so it would be a very powerful, fast fight. And so I like the depiction of that through the art. So for most of the art, with the exception of the inconsistencies of the fingernails and the spikes, I think the art is actually very good in this issue.
Yeah, I agree. I think that it clearly there was some issues keeping track of where specific things on her new costume were, but I liked the way that they did the fight choreography in this issue, and I also liked the way that they actually that they used Crypto and that they gave him a lot of personality. I think you could really see in that one panel after she yells that she gets mad at him, that he's confused. He's like, but that's my friend. And then later on when he tries to follow her up into the sun and gives her a little lick on the cheek, he seems really concerned about her. You can see that on his face. And I think it's not always easy to give characters who can't speak enough of a character arc that you can understand what they're feeling. And I thought I always was pretty clear on what was going on with Crypto. Not always clear with what was going on with her nails, but always clear with what Crypto was thinking and feeling.
I agree. They've done a good job with Crypto in these issues. Well, I guess we've already kind of shared our wrapping up thoughts about where things are going and where we're headed. So if you are listening to this in the audio podcast, or if you are going to be watching us in the live stream next time, do anticipate that we are going to go through the Year of the Villain Hell Arisen storyline, the 4 issues, to see what those are about. And we will try to follow this story through whatever type of conclusion there may be. We'll see if there is one. But we will definitely get to those 4 issues next time as we move through this. Well, I think, Morgan, unless you have anything else you wanted to add about this, I think this is going to wrap us up on Supergirl number 40. If you haven't bought it yet, this issue is available in the DC Comics app, Comixology, Google Play, and read DCEntertainment.com. And you could probably find it in your local comic book shop if you would like to get a hard copy version of it. And that's also going to do it for this episode of Supergirl Radio. And we have some plugs about how you can keep up with us. So if you want to post a comment on our website, you can go to supergirlradio.com. You can email us at supergirlradio@gmail.com. You can like us on Facebook and follow us on X and Instagram, all at Supergirl Radio. I'm a little behind in posting some clips. I'll be getting to that this week. If you like what we do, we encourage you to give us a rating and write us a review on Apple Podcasts and anywhere that you listen to your podcasts. Supergirl Radio is part of the DCTV Podcast and Multiverse of Color Network, so go check those out. And we usually go live and wired Tuesday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern on the DCTV Podcast YouTube channel. We've had to rearrange some of the live streams a couple of times, mostly due to my schedule. So for a little bit, we won't be on Tuesdays. But we will definitely, if you go to the DCTV Podcast YouTube channel, you'll be able to see when we are going to be live. So hopefully that will help everybody if you need to know that. We also, DCTV Podcast also has a TeePublic store. So if you're in need of a new DC or DCTV related t-shirts, tank tops, sweatshirts, magnets, tote bags, pins, phone cases, pillows, stickers, or even hats now, go to supergirlradio.com and click on the TeePublic store link at the top of the page.
And since Supergirl number 40 featured Wonder Woman fighting Supergirl, we have some Wonder...
Oh, actually, I didn't change that.
Since it featured Crypto, the very best boy.
Yes.
We have some Crypto designs in the DCTV Podcast TeePublic store that we would love to suggest.
I made the graphic that had the Crypto design, and I forgot to change it in the doc. So that is on me for that change not happening. But yeah, we have some Crypto designs. I'm loving that the TeePublic store has hats now. I'm going to try to take advantage of that.
That's really
pretty
fun.
Cool. But yeah, we have a couple of Crypto designs. So if you're interested in Super Dog stuff, we've got you covered there in the DCTV Podcast TeePublic store. If you would like to support us through the Supergirl Radio Patreon, you can do it as a legion of super sponsors. And these people are Michael, Anne Marie, Yvonne, Nicola, Abby, Miriam, Nicole, Brian, Ethan, Danny, Majuba, Zachary, Annie, and Rachel. So if you would like to do that, you can go to patreon.com/Supergirl Radio. And if I can get back to my Google Doc, if you would like to follow me on the interwebs, you can do that in a couple of places. I'm on the Vero True Social app over there at Derby Kid. You can find out what I'm watching, what I'm listening to, and sometimes what I'm doing. Sometimes I'll share a link of things that I'm doing. And you can find me on Instagram at the Derby Kid, where I post the occasional picture. I have and the frequent Instagram stories of things that I think are awesome. And you can go to YouTube to find my personal YouTube channel at youtube.com/duckmilkprod. I also do a travel blog with my brother at Oasis Broom if you want to check out our travels. And those are kind of all the places that you can find me on the interwebs.
Nice. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram and now Blue Sky at Mojotastic. You can also find me as a co-host on the Legendary Ladies podcast, where I believe next week we're going to be talking about Wicked. So I have to go.
Oh.
I have to get to see in Wicked, and hopefully no singing in my theater. That's everybody put out the good vibes into the universe. No singing in my theater.
I actually, selfishly, I hope there is singing in the theater,
Could
so
you
that
imagine?
you will then have to discuss that experience.
The singing in the theater, a single tear just like goes down my cheek. And I'm like, no, please.
What if you go and you're like, this was a great experience?
What if I'm
so
like,
glad there was
you know
singing
what?
here."
I've turned a corner on singing in the theater, and I think we should all be doing it. And like Rebecca just has to take me out back and shoot me.
Oh no, I wouldn't do that.
You got to old yeller me. You're like, I'm sorry, Morgan.
Okay, this is going to be a hot take. But at Dragon Con this year, every now and then they'll have sing-alongs in the evenings. So fans can get together and sing along to musicals or movies or soundtracks or something, whatever it is. And so a friend of mine really likes Rent. And so I
Nice.
was like, I don't know much about Rent. And so I went with her to the Rent sing-along because we didn't really have anything else to do while other friends of ours were doing stuff. And I have to say, I was not really impressed with Rent as a musical. I know that's a real hot take. I know people love Rent, but I was
People
like,
do love Rent.
I was like, these are the songs? I don't think they're very good.
But Rebecca, they really don't want to pay their rent. Did you get that?
And I kept asking my friend questions because she loves Rent. So like I knew she would be the person to ask the questions to. And I was like, so how many of these people have AIDS? And she was like, mostly everybody. And I was like, oh, okay. All right. Okay. Just want to check.
Sort of a product of its time, the musical Rent. Yeah, no, it was. I remember when the movie version came out, and I want to say like the early mid 2000s, and going to see it and being like, does it play differently on the stage?
Maybe.
I'll also not to spoil Rent, a movie and a musical that has been out for a long time. I've never seen the stage musical. I hear it's great, and I know people who are obsessed with it, and I believe that. And I enjoyed the movie musical. However, a character does like die and undie at the end of that musical through the power of song, and I just don't think it works that way.
I wish it did. That would be
It
great.
would be great. Could you imagine if you're like a loved one is going down and you're just like, I will sing. And then it works.
Take them to the Wicked screening.
Yes, quick. The ambulances are all going to the Wicked screening. The theater kids will save us all.
Yeah, I just I love musicals. Don't get me wrong.
Me too.
Hello, Dolly. I love The Sound of Music. I love movie musicals. I love Broadway. I love all of it. Rent was not impressed. I gotta say, I just wasn't impressed. And I don't even remember how we got talking about Rent. What were we talking about?
The musicals, the sing-alongs.
Yes, we were talking about Wicked because y'all are going to be reviewing it. Well, I am interested to hear your thoughts. I hear it's a two-parter.
Yes,
Wicked?
I'm confused about that. So not to brag, but I've seen Wicked on Broadway. But this was actually a long time ago, so my memory of it is pretty hazy. But it wasn't 5 hours, it was like 2.5, 3.
Typically with a musical, you might be in and out in 3 hours with an intermission.
Yeah, exactly. There was a little intermission in the middle. It was about the length of a movie, plus intermission. So what's the second half of Wicked gonna be about? Anyway, I'm excited to find out.
I'm of the opinion, just make it a 3-hour movie.
It doesn't.
I don't want to go to see 2 parts. I know
doesn't
they're going to
need
make more
parts.
money, but I don't want to go see 2 parts. I don't want to commit to this.
They
So-
just want that money. They just want that theater kid money. And you know what? Fine, we'll all give it to them. Whatever. But I'm not happy about
I'm not
it.
happy about it either. So I feel like a real bah humbug. with
Me
all
too.
this
I'm like,
news.
"Ugh, fine, I'll do it. But I'm not pleased about it.
But I will probably go see Wicked as well. Just waiting for the theater kids to have their fill. Okay, well, I think we've gone off the rails enough. I'm going to try to steer us back around to Supergirl Radio. So I think that is going to do it for this episode of Supergirl Radio. But until next time, I am still Rebecca Johnson.
And I'm still Morgan Glennon. And thanks for joining us as we catch up on Supergirl Comics.
McGurk! I love
Not mess
typing.
with my Google Docs, Meeksy.
Supergirl Radio is going live every night of the week. How do you like it? Is becoming a human burrito a plus or a minus? I don't know. It does seem snug.
I mean, they say you are what you eat.
Kira. I love that.
So I do a podcast called Supergirl Radio, and one of our segments is Lena Luthor, Boardroom or Ballroom, because her outfit
She looks like a boss in this coat.
Nasty Luthor like a different Luthor? It's not just Lena being mean?
No.
Helen Slater here. So fun to know that you're hosting a podcast called Supergirl Radio.
Yeah!